Hi everyone, welcome back to the Geekette Speaketh. On today's episode, I will be showing you the first part on how to set up the development environment for our project Nuts About Candies. To be more specific, this episode is all about setting up your Git repository. If you haven't seen the introduction about this project, which also explains why I'm doing this, I have the link to that episode in the description below. Let's get started. I'll need to create the project folder where I'll be storing all the resources for the project. So let me bring up the terminal here, change my folder into TGS Videos. From here, I'm going to create my folder Nuts About Candies Golang, since this is the Go programming version of the project. Now I'm going to set up Git, which is a version control system. A version control system allows you to keep track of all changes made to your project. This is useful for restoring a copy of your project at any point in the past, as long as you saved it to the system. I've already set up my identity for Git, as you can see here. If you'd like to know more about how to set up Git for the first time, you can visit git-scm here. I'll put the link to the first time Git setup in the description below. Let me change to the Nuts About Candies folder. Now, I'll initialize this folder to be a local Git repository by typing git init. And that's all there is to it. I'm now ready to keep track of any changes I make to my project from now on. Now, Git is known as a distributed version control system. That means I can have other repositories somewhere else, and all I need to do is regularly synchronize all of them. There are a lot of online Git repo services that offer free accounts. You've got Bitbucket, GitHub, and what I'll be using is GitLab. I already have an account for GitLab. Let me just sign in. And I also created a group to where I'll be storing my project. So I'm now inside the group. I'm just going to create a new project and name it Nuts About Candies Go Implementation. I'll change the URL to Nuts About Candies Golang. Then I'll set the visibility level to public so even you can access it. I'll click on Initialize the repository with a README. Then create the project. So now I have this new online Git repo for the project. I'm going to connect this to my local repo via SSH. First, I'll need to create an SSH key. GitLab has a tutorial on how SSH keys work and how to obtain one. I'll put the link to that in the description below. As you can see here, there are different algorithms to create a key, and what I use is ED25519. This is also the recommended algorithm to generate an SSH key for GitLab. Before I continue, let me just say that creating an SSH key requires that a software like OpenSSH is installed on your system. If you're on Ubuntu, like I am, you just need to install OpenSSH via the package manager. Look up how to install OpenSSH for your own operating system. Let's go on. To create my key, I just need to go to the terminal and type ssh-keygen-ed25519. Optionally, you can also add a comment. The common practice is to use your email address as the comment, and this will become part of your key. In my case, I used my machine's name, which is Minerva. On pressing enter, it will ask you to enter the location where you want to install the file. You can see here that the default is to an id_ed25519 file located in the .ssh folder, which can be found in my home folder. Usually, we just hit enter to accept the default. Then it will ask you for a passphrase. Again, if you don't want to set a passphrase, just hit enter twice. Once you've done that, you should see the confirmation screen and the location where your keys have been generated. I say keys because there are actually two keys generated, a private and a public key. I already have my SSH key registered here. You can see that I have my two SSH keys using the ED25519 algorithm. The private key has no extension. The public key has a .pub extension. You take the contents of your public key, go back to the settings of your account, click on SSH, and save your public key in your settings. I have already taken the contents of my public key and added that to my GitLab settings. Let's go back to the project page. I have a drop-down button here for clone. I'll click on that and copy the URL for SSH. Now back to my terminal. Let me type git remote add, then an alias for the remote. Traditionally, the remote alias is called origin, but it's possible to have your local repo connected to several other remote repos. So instead of using origin as my alias, I'm going to use something more intuitive. In this case, I'll just name it as GitLab. Then I paste the SSH URL I copied earlier. Now, I'm going to pull the project from GitLab by typing git pull GitLab. And there we have it. Normally you can stop here, but I like to go just a little bit further. Later on, we'll be delving into branches. In Git, branches allow you to make a copy of the main version of the code, make changes to it, test it, and insert it back safely into the main version. You can see here that the main version is called master. I like to change this to a more intuitive name, like main, or prod to signify production code, or even release to signify again that this is what's supposed to be out in production. So let's name master to main. So let me check first that I am inside my master branch by typing git status. And you can see here, it tells me that I am in my master branch. I can also check where I am by typing git branch. And the asterisk tells me where I am. So while I'm here in my master branch, I'll type git branch -- move master main to rename the branch. Then git push -u GitLab main to save this into my remote repo. Now, let me go back into my project on GitLab, and I will do two things. First, I'll make sure that main is my new default branch. Then next, I shall delete the master branch. And we're done with the switch. You can do branch name changes on GitHub and Bitbucket as well. But remember, if you're going to do branch name changes, it's best that you do this early on in the project. You can rename this while in the middle of the project, but make sure that the new branch is working correctly before you decide to delete the old branch name on your remote repo. Better yet, just archive the old name on your remote repo so that you can easily roll back to that later on if anything in the newly named branch goes wrong. And that's it for this episode. If you need a Git cheat sheet to help you with remembering the different Git commands available, GitLab has a wonderful resource for that, which I will be putting on the description below. If you have any questions or want to clarify something, or even give a few more tips related to this episode, feel free to put it in the comments below. In my next episode, I will continue to set up my development environment and show you how I use a container system called Docker with my chosen IDE, Visual Studio Code, and its nifty feature, remote development. Thank you for watching. Do like and share this to anyone you think will find this helpful. Subscribe to see more videos like this. I also wouldn't mind a coffee tip to help me keep caffeinated while creating these videos. Take care, everyone. I'll see you all later.